Hey, not much. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well, I'm swell, I'm great. Genkai, huh? Hit me
Yeah, it was a.
with a
Oh, sorry.
pitch. No, you're good.
Yeah, so I mean, people are complaining about younger Tagoro or Wolfwood for giving +3 damage, and Genkai effectively does the same thing on offense, but can also give -3 on defense. With the main issue just being that the card economy is just rough. Like if you don't draw any cards, or if you don't have any way to draw a bunch of cards, then it can be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But Rejuvenating Smash still draws 2. Tasty Riff is a 5-speed move that draws 3 and builds foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And because you're putting such heavy damage on it, you have things like Confident Counterstrike or Calorie Counter that are just ways to swing really hard backs after they block your first move or your second move. When you have the opportunity, it's swinging for 7 plus whatever you discard. And so it's just a lot of damage that you can put on offense. And if they're not able to block your moves, and if you're able to if they're not able to or if they what am I trying to say, like if they overextend and you're on the crackback, like you can hit really hard, but then you also got to check the top of your deck, and so you can play 4 or 5 attacks rather comfortably as long as you keep finding foundations on the top.
Yeah.
But then good has an issue where a lot of the foundations seem to be +3 block modifiers, which this character seems to be all right with. If you're given +3 damage to a Twisting Azure Inferno, you just give it -3, and they don't get to do the thing. Or Any Means Necessary is a plus or -5 damage, or a Meshy Perseverance, which is a unique that you typically only want one of. From what everything that you keep saying, it's a +4 block modifier that you can still use for plus or -4 damage. Build them with Tasty Rift, keep using, and then not only are you playing multiple Tasty Rifts, but you can give it a significant amount of damage and keep drawing your 3 cards. And so it's just a lot of offense and defense, and your defense is just not a typical defense of just block all the things and shut them down with a showdown.
Huh. Why do you do this to me? This deck looks sick. this this deck looks so cool. This deck says after they run out of things to block Tasty Rifts with, you just give them all +4 damage.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and then the issue, at least when I was watching your stream where you were playing Osui 3 on the webcam RLE, is you would draw a bunch of cards and you would draw your 3 and discard 3 or sometimes 4 cards, but because you're dumping all of your cards on offense, you're drawing 3 and you just get to keep them.
Yeah. Yeah, you
As
certainly
long,
have to weave it correctly, right? For the discard the card out of the card pool, and then
mm-hmm.
like drawing too many cards, right? Like she so she let's talk Asui 3 for a second, right? Asui 3's deal is that she draws a bunch of cards but doesn't have the damage output. She has to have prone to dry eyes. Genkai's issue is that she doesn't have the draw output, but she does have better prone to dry eyes on her face.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, how much can I rip this deck apart?
I've only played it a handful of times casually, and so you can, whatever input you have is always welcome.
Okay.
So
I
you
think
can, I mean, if you want to take it and cut it in half, you're more than welcome to.
Counter Strike is like a huge outlier here of like this really weird idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I get that it's just really big, but that's its job is just to be really big.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that there's like just a better piece to be had here, especially with the fact that like we don't have any other 5 diffs besides Rejuvenating, which is actually a 6 diff most of the time,
Right.
Because we're gonna be using on offense. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that having this Counter Strike be an opener, so that you go like play an attack, discard, play a Tasty Riff, discard, redraw 3. You've got 5 in hand again. Continue to play the game. Probably
Mm-hmm.
feels pretty good.
Yeah. So my thought was that you have I won't back down as an opener, which is just your 4 mid 7, 4 mid 8. If it's block draw a card, you get that card back, and you made them block, you get a counter, which I don't think the 2 counters matter that much for Tasty Rift because the 1 diffs are mediocre. But the
Sure.
idea is that I won't back down as an opener, and Rewind Throttle is an opener where you get to have a 5-speed move that draws you a card back and commit a foundation if you need to get rid of a certain piece. But also with Confident Counterstrike, I picked that over Tasty Rift because it's a printed 4 diff, and so a lot of the attacks, one of the issues I'm having is the attack seems situational where I don't want to play Tasty Rift first because I want to draw the 3 cards. I can't play Reju first or third. Absorb down, the Spirit Strike only works if they have a momentum or works effectively. Like there's a lot of cards that seem situational, but the Counter Strike is just a 4 diff with a printed 5 speed and a symbol that doesn't really have a lot of speed bonus. Actually, I think the
Sure.
only thing we'll find that's reliable is the practical studies. And so just being a 4 diff that's printed 5 speed is sometimes it is an opener and it sucks, but it's still a 4 mid 7 a 5 mid 7 that's rather threatening, and then I can continue on. Whereas if it's calorie counter, it's a 6 diff that's a printed 3 speed, and so it's a little bit different. And because the damage values get so high, I just kind of need to hit them once, and so that's where it's been a 10 damage move. And if that's the only thing that hits, that's still a third of their health.
So
But it
where
does
I'm at is
feel
I just want it to be like Genkai Spirit Gun, right? I want it to be a 5 diff. It's a 6 mid for 5 that, like, this card's a crazy opener. This card stacks whatever you want it to be, and then you just pick it back up. This picks up Tasty Riff if this thing hits.
Oh, it has to be completely blocked. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I got to put whatever I want on top after the block, and then after it does damage, I
And
got to
then-
look at it and
Yeah, it just picks up.
find a 5 check or find a tasty riff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this card seems correct. This
And
card
it's a
seems-
low block, which was a separate issue that I was having, but
Yeah, let's look at the block zones. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is great. We have I just wanna cut the Counter Strike altogether. Absorbed Energy Strike feels out of place here. Just because like you're kind of like not doing the Genkai thing, you're just doing the I might play this deck for Fun Friday this week, actually. This looks like an actual absolute blast. I think this card's really sick in the sideboard. I think 2 or 3 of these in the sideboard replacing the rewind throttles seems really, really cool.
with that one, because your character can only reduce it to a minimum of 1 damage, and often you want to reduce it to 1 or 2 so you can look at the top and see if you get to pick up an attack or have that foundation to block with. There are times where you're almost incentivized to let them build up momentum, and then when they build up that momentum, they have, like, as a 2-of, they still have to take it into account. But I mean, you're right, it is out of place sometimes. But my thought is just that it's a good block against, it's a high block, it's a good block against a lot of meta decks, and just if they want to take that momentum after they deal 2 damage, they didn't make a whole lot of progress, but then it can still be a 4 mid, 7 opener. But there are a lot of times where it's a 4 mid 3 and I'll throw it away because I don't know what to do with it when I'm trying to, kill them on the crackback, and it's just not enough damage.
I am in love with Double Trouble.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Um,
So, I mean, like, I understand that it's an echo and that echoes are very underrated, especially in a character where card economy is extremely powerful. But I guess to me, it's still just a 2 mid 5 or a 2 mid 8 in this character.
Sure. It is, but it isn't. Echo is insane, and I don't care if they block this move because I'm allowed to go double trouble, Tasty Riff.
Okay, so
And
they blocked once or twice, that you stunned them twice, you cycled twice to find your tasty riff, and then that's just going to hit.
Correct.
And then that's only 1 card in the card pool instead of 2.
Correct. And so either they're down to take, we'll say on average, you discarded the 3, right? Either they're down to take 16 damage, which is tight. I'm in. Or I get to cycle twice, stun them, and 2 mid, whenever you have things like practical studies, turning it into a 3 mid is great. It feels super good.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Also, randomly, it's a mid block, and mid blocks are like difficult for people to sometimes have. And so sometimes, if you do pump this is a partial block, which is it's 3 damage, 3 damage on the partial that you cycled. You then get to relook to know if it's safe or not to play as the Echo. I love this card. I think it's really, really cool. I want to take Absorbed down and just put it in the sideboard. Take this out of the deck, and depending on how you feel, I want 3 of this in the main board, and I don't know if I want Rewind Throttle to drop down to the 3 of or Rejuve Smash to drop down to the 3 of. I think both of these are very, very good. I think doubling up on Rejuve Smash is slightly worse than doubling up on Rewind Throttle.
Yeah. I guess one thing that I've always been worried about is there's all of the like when I first put this deck together, every attack was a mid attack other than Tasty Rift, just because the mids are so powerful on the good symbol, and so
Yeah.
I mean, I guess with the Genkai Spirit Gun, that's a high or a low, and so that's a way where you can send that, pull out their high block for Tasty Riff, and then still, like, you still have that flexibility with it. But that was one issue that I was having, is that a lot of the attacks on the good symbol that fit this deck are mid.
Yeah.
But I guess right here, I mean, that's what if you keep the 4 rewind throttles, that's 12 high attacks. So that's not even, you know, less than half of them are mid. So I guess it's not even an issue.
I cannot filter by attack zone. But I mean, if that's the case, then like it just makes sense. I added a bunch of 5-discs in your deck. Just making Rejuvenating Smash the 3 of is chill.
Yeah.
Right? Especially because we added Genkai Spirit Gun into your deck. So if you absolutely need to, you can go against Genkai Spirit Gun. It's a 6 mid for 5 that you make a little quicker. Stack your Rejuve Smash, pick up Rejuve Smash, play Rejuve Smash, draw 2.
Draw 2.
Like this into this is a really good tactic. This is a 5 damage move into a 6 damage move. That then you get momentum, you get speed and damage on the rejuvenate. Like this feels great. This feels super good. Onto actions assets.
Before you say it, I know I don't have the Team Doctor in the deck list.
It's okay. We can put it in the sideboard. That's acceptable.
Oh, that wouldn't go in the main?
If you don't want it in the main, it won't go in the main. But I think it should be in your main board.
Okay.
There's an idea where you put in UA high to do the same idea of just like go pick up your Tasty Riffs, but I don't actually think you need it because you have an attack that does so.
Yeah, the only action that really stuck out to me was Referee Jury, where you can set their attack to 4 and then discard with Genkai to set it to 1. And then when you resolve, you can resolve Referee Jury to draw a card and then use Genkai to look at the top to see if it's safe to block or pick up an attack. And Referee Jury was just a very funny defensive piece.
That's huge. That's huge.
To be able to only take 1, so instead of taking 4, which is almost, you know, rather significant, you're taking 1, which doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm playing this deck on Friday, actually. it's a Tasty Rift deck. I've been trying to find like a good symboled character to play. Yeah, neat. Okay. Foundations. 0 diffs. What do we got here? Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. There is an idea to play Spirit Beast just because it's a 0 diff and a 3 block. I'm going to put it in the sideboard to see if there's anything that we care about. 1 diffs. This should probably be a 4 of in our deck. I don't know how we get it to a 4 of, but it probably should be. Genkai's Training should probably exist somewhere in our deck. On the attacks that you are forced to block, you must block or die.
Yeah.
This card seems pretty good in our. I've got a bunch of 4 diffs. We just have to figure out which cards match in order to play the game. You know.
Yeah. When I looked, there weren't a whole lot of them, but with them being 3 diffs or like +3s or even +4 blocks, it might be worthwhile looking at, just because if you have to block, you have to. But I didn't see a lot of matches for that one.
The deadlock on this is pretty decent. Kindle the Flames, not quite. Male Bonding should probably be a 4 of in our damage reduction deck. We will figure out where to put this card in.
Yeah.
I think what's going to be happening is I'm going to be cutting a lot of the fluff out of your deck.
Male Bonding was a little weird, just because if I don't block it and I take damage from it and I look and I see it's a foundation, I don't always want to build that down, just because then I have a 5 on top of my deck that I want to check. But there are times where if I'm playing defense and I don't really have the option to block, it is nice to be able to build down the foundation, get it out of the way so I don't reveal the same card again, so I can find an attack. But there were a lot of times where, and I don't know if it's like a familiarity thing with it, but there are a lot of times where I don't want to build the top of the deck and clear off my 5 check.
I think that 90% of the time, you probably just want the foundation rather than the 5 check. If you think you're actively going to die on that turn, yeah, keep the 5.
Yeah.
But there's a 66% chance that you just have another 5 on top, right?
Yeah, and if I check a 3, I've got 1 more foundation, so it's like I checked a 4 on that one anyway.
Correct. And like you've pushed your game state beyond and further.
Okay.
This deck is neat. This deck is so neat. There are too many cool cards, I think, is the
I know, and
issue here.
especially playing a 2-check. So many of the foundations are 2 diffs, and it doesn't feel like there's enough room. And I don't think I'm playing enough 1s and 0s, but I just pretend like it doesn't exist because I don't know what else to do.
It's just new training method, just to try and build them in.
Yeah, I just couldn't find the room for that, and with it being a +2 block, it was like still good, but not working with the discard, and being a 4-check was a little awkward. And I guess it does get to pick up foundations that have bad block mods for more damage, but it was, I don't know, I couldn't find the room for that one.
It says whenever you check any means necessary, you just get it, right?
Yeah, you get 5 damage, you throw it away, you pick up another card, so you get 2 cards and ±5 damage.
Okay. So, let's talk about your deck. The cards that I absolutely think we have to put in at a 4 of. Final test. I think this one has to exist in here because the number one thing I think your character's going to run out of is just hand size. If they block the Tasty Riff, we need final tests to refuel. We have to.
Yeah. I get my issue was that because it's a form draw card that I might clear the 5 off the top of my deck, but I guess if I'm building, if like on my last attack, if I see a 5, I build and then I flip draw a card. So I guess that can be played at the end of my, like towards the end of my turn instead of in the middle or on the attacks.
So this happens after they block the Tasty Riff.
Right.
If they fully block the Tasty Riff, you didn't do damage, which means you don't get to look with Genkai.
Right. And so when they block, I get to draw the card, but if they don't block, if I find that 5, I typically want to keep it there, but
you just draw the card with Tasty Riff, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole goal is for this card is just to refuel your hand, right?
Well, yeah, but I guess with Tasty Riff, you get to draw the 3 and then discard down, and then you can resolve Genkai since they're both on damage. And so if I see a 5, but I guess again
because we drew 3 cards off of Tasty Riff.
Yeah, and then I guess at the end of the turn, I can still draw.
This whole thing is that I want to just, on the turn that I play Tasty Riff, and they block, I go, okay, you blocked my 5 high, probably 6 or 7 high with Practical Studies. I'm just gonna flip 2 of these anyways and draw 2. Oh, I found another attack I want to play. All right, I'll play this one. I still have cards in my hand with for Genkai's ability to work, right? This is not I found the 5 on top and I have to draw it. That's we don't care about that unless it's like any means necessary or something, right?
Yeah.
But I think that this card you have to play it at the 4 of, just because it says that if the plan goes to shit, right, and we discarded a bunch on offense and we did no damage, we don't get to peek, we don't nothing, we don't go into their turn with nothing.
Okay.
And if that means that like we kill what's a symbol because of it, we just have to be down, right? If we have to kill going out to fight some villains because of it, which I think is already a bad card, we are down. I get that the enhance is very good. The bottom enhance is very good, but both of them are very good for our character in particular, but there's probably just better things that we could be doing. And even though it's a 4 high, right, for the minus whatever, that can't be like our only game plan, you know?
Yeah. And I guess with the deck list that I've got so far, it has been skewed. The people that I've been playing haven't been playing Wolfwood or Younger Togoro or Ochako 4. Like, they haven't been playing those high damage characters where they put +3, +4, +5 on everything. And so the damage reduction on the foundations has been enough to get through several turns, not just for an extra 10 health or something like that. And so my deck is probably skewed more towards smaller damage, characters.
Manly Friendship, I think, is another one of these cards that I'm not in love with. I'd rather this just be male bonding. I get that it's more damage reduction and more damage pump, but you don't need more of either. This +1 or -1 is not going to save you. Building a bonus foundation on turn 2 will. Like, this could be the difference in like winning the game or losing, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. Now that I think about it, even if I got all 3 damage on the 3 turns, I don't think that's doing anything.
Difficulty again. Necessary makes sense. What's a symbol? I think Perseverance needs to go down to a 3 of, just because it is a unique foundation. I get that it's a 4 mid block, but it is still unique.
Yeah.
I want to take Keiko's Aid up to a 3, Thinking on a 3, and then see how many cards we have in our deck. 65. This is not bad. This is not bad. So the main thing down here that we are missing is the deadlock pressure. Oh, we have 4 practicals, so we're fine.
Yeah, we've got that, and what is it? The I won't back down as the deadlock echo. Gain 2 counters.
Correct. Yeah, which is good.
I mean, yeah. To echo, send a 7 damage move that draws you a card.
How can I put blocks on my high blocks? I mean, if we got rid of What's a Symbol and Lost in Thought and tossed in 3 copies of New Training Method, we might feel a little better. But this is our anti-board, and this is more... I actually almost would rather get rid of What's a Symbol and just put in 3 Lost in Thought. Just to stop board hate stuff.
Yeah, I had that at a 1 of because Rewind Throttle can target commit stuff, and then Tasty Rift can build in the Lost in Thought if I need it. But I guess if I'm trying, if it's the kill turn, Tasty Rift building in a 2nd and a 3rd Lost in Thought, even though it removes itself for cost, you still re-ready your face down foundation, potentially pick up a better block modifier.
So the other thing that Lost in Thought at the 3 of does for you is it says that you're allowed to build any means necessary and not feel bad about it.
Right.
Any means necessary, Lost in Thought, you play an attack, you commit to any means. I'll Lost in Thought, get rid of your thing, pick up my 5 mid block, build a different foundation, discard for +5 redraw.
Okay.
That feels very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. I left in Thinking on the Fly just because I think it's very cool for like your double trouble if they block it, or if they block the Genkai's Spirit Gun. It says that the Tasty Rift that you play next is just unblockable and does 1 trillion damage.
Right.
If it wasn't this, and you were like looking more for like the meta, it'd be Always Cool, I think.
Well, I guess Always Cool seems a little odd since I can't you can't discard to reduce the damage, but
sure.
I guess if they're going to be putting 10 if they're going to be stacking on several damage bonuses, -3 isn't going to fix it.
Yeah, this card, Genkai doesn't get to play against Armor of the Wolf, right? Whereas Brook Always Cool does.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, and so like,
because you can jury Armor of the Wolf, but if they still have enough enhances and momentum for powerful, then still it kills you twice over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually think I like this card. I think if you wanted to make this a little more meta relevant, I would probably just insta-cut it for the Always Cool.
Yeah, because I had it at a 1 of just to see if it would help out, and it was a low block, which was nice. But often it seems like often if they're blocking, what am I trying to say? Like if the speed from Practical Studies is like if you're putting the plus speed on Practical Studies on all of your attacks, you're going to get them to spend their resources to block, and then once one hits them, you don't need the speed anymore, and so the +3 speed kind of turns off your Practical Studies, and so it's a little odd there. But that was just it was just something that said plus speed, and I don't know if that was entirely necessary.
This is probably where I would leave it, and I think this is the exact list that I'm going to be taking on Fun Friday this week. This list is tight. This is a cool Genkai, man.
And this is 64?
64 cards? 64 cards. I just cut 1 more copy of Urmesh's Perseverance. It's unique, and we're allowed to build it with Tasty Rift if we want to try and pop off.
Yeah. And Urmeshi Perseverance, at least with like the heavy damage reduction playstyle I had, like the commit draw card on defense was not always active. Just because if I was discarding so much for my defense, I wouldn't ever be able to draw the card on blocking. And so it seems like this way it's more about building foundations faster, drawing more cards, which means you have to block to actually play defense, but then it's going to be live.
Yeah.
But I mean,
This
so
is
it seems a
cool.
little thin on attacks. I mean, is that okay because you're drawing so much with Rejuvenating Smash and Tasty Riff?
Yeah, I mean, we get it. Rejuve, Tasty, I Won't Back Down, Rewind, Throttle, Double Trouble. Those all draw cards.
Oh, that's right. That's discard one, draw one. Okay.
And this card says if I hit you, I draw an attack.
Okay.
And this says if I hit you, 33% of the time, I should draw an attack.
Mm-hmm.
Final Test says draw an attack. You're finished. You ready? You're finished sometimes says
Yeah, you
draw
can-
an attack.
Yeah, and in this character, you can discard an attack and potentially draw an extra one if you needed something.
Redraw, like a foundation or
different.
something. Referee jury
Yeah.
draws, enemies necessary draws. Yeah, we got draws. This deck is so
Okay.
cool. Holy cow, this deck is neat. Yeah, I think that's it. I think this is probably where I'm gonna leave it. I think this is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess I only had one more question about what's the Midori attack? The 5 diff that if you discarded a card gains stun 2. I can't remember the name of it.
Wind up punch.
Yeah, is that something that has a place in this, or is that just an awkward 5 diff that only becomes good later in the game? I mean, because the stun 2 is very good, but it's a 5 diff. I mean, so in this character, it's a 5 mid, or it's a 4 mid stun 2, 6, or for 9 or whatever mid, on a 5 diff, and it's a little awkward. And it seems like it would be competing. I guess with the speed and the stun combined, it's competing with Genkai's Spirit Gun. And it's got powerful 3, and
I think
it seems like it's a very similar card.
if you wanted to do like a 1 of Wind Up Punch and a 3 of Genkai's, I don't hate this idea. This is a 4 diff if they have got some stuff going on.
Right.
And so like going if we're into a later game, going Genkai Spirit Gun, they don't block it into stack Wind Up Punch, draw Wind Up Punch, play Wind Up Punch.
Mm-hmm.
A stun 2 as a 4 diff. It's a 4 mid for 7.
Mm-hmm.
8, 9, 10 on Genkai on average, right? Maybe 11, depending on if we get lucky.
Yeah.
It's another powerful out, just like Spirit Gun. Although we want to spend our momentum on Double Trouble. Like this is not a bad tool to crack somebody's board. So I don't hate it.
Okay. And I guess at a 1 of you can pick it up with Urameshi Perseverance and so you don't have to see it on turn 3 or turn 4 if they have 8 foundations. You can go pick it up.
Yeah.
If you need the extra stun to get through everything. Okay.
For the list
I was just curious.
I'm going to
I
be
mean,
playing this Friday because I'm just taking this exact list.
Right.
I'm going to play the 4 Genkai Spirit Gun because I think that this stack your deck says that they have to respect this, which means that if I draw the Tasty Rift, they just get hit by it. They can't.
And
not
I guess
get
being
hit by
off
it.
zone would be more valuable than being just mid with stun 2.
That's how I feel. But this card does crack boards, so there is that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm going to leave it as is, and you can make that assessment if you wish. Thank you for showing me the coolest deck I've seen in a long, long time. If there's anything TamCardwell likes to do, it's play Tasty Riff in as many characters as possible. And so, how neat.
That's unfortunate. It's such a stupid card.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a neat one. With that, man, thanks again for the support on Patreon, and you have a good rest of your night, okay?
Yeah, thank you. You too.
See ya.